One object, one orbit, thousands of questions. Some say it's alien, some say it's ancient, some say it's been watching Earth for over 13,000 years. But what if it's something else entirely? This is the story of the Black Knight satellite, a chilling case of strange signals, unexplained sightings, and orbital anomalies. A real-world mystery that blurs the line between truth, myth, and something in between. Let's go back to 1899. A man stands alone in a dark laboratory on the plains of Colorado. Electric arcs snap and crackle in the air. Above him, a crude antenna reaches toward the sky. Outside, the night is still. The stars seem closer. Curious. That man is Nikola Tesla. Genius, visionary, pioneer. Tesla wasn't just experimenting with electricity. He was exploring the unknown, trying to communicate across vast distances without wires, what we now call radio. But then he heard something, a signal, repetitive, structured, unlike anything he had ever received. Tesla was convinced this wasn't random noise, it wasn't static, it was intelligent. In his notes, he wrote that the signals might be attempts at communication from a civilization far older and far more advanced than our own. At the time, there were no artificial satellites, no space agencies, no Earth-orbiting craft. And yet, he heard something. The mystery remained buried for decades, until the 1950s. In 1954, as the Cold War ramped up, a respected UFO researcher named Donald Keyhoe made a bold claim. He said the U.S. Air Force had detected 2 unknown satellites orbiting Earth. The problem? No country on Earth had launched a satellite yet. Sputnik wouldn't come until 1957. So what was up there? The newspapers ran the story. The public was stunned, and the legend began to grow. Was something watching us from above? By 1960, the military was paying closer attention. That year, the U.S. Navy tracked a dark object orbiting in a polar trajectory. That meant it passed over both poles, a pattern used today by surveillance satellites. It was unusual and unexpected. Some thought it was a Soviet satellite, possibly the first successful attempt at space espionage. But eventually, the mystery was dismissed. Analysts concluded It was a piece of space debris, likely from the Discoverer 8 satellite. The object had failed in orbit, they said, and what the Navy had detected was just leftover wreckage. But the explanation came after the panic, after the story had already spread. And even if that object was debris, it wasn't the last strange thing to appear in our skies. In 1963, astronaut Gordon Cooper prepared for the final U.S. solo spaceflight, Mercury Atlas 9, a milestone mission, 22 orbits, over 34 hours in space. It was during the final orbit that something unexpected happened. News reports claimed that Cooper had witnessed a greenish object flying toward his capsule, an object not visible to ground radar, something that seemed to emerge from the darkness of space. The claim gained traction. Was Cooper being watched? Had the black night revealed itself? But as with so many pieces of this puzzle, Cooper denied the story. He said no such object had been seen. The transcripts were clean, the data uneventful. Still, the story stuck, because by then, the Black Knight had become more than a theory. It had become a legend. But the most concrete evidence, at least visually, came decades later. In 1998, NASA launched the STS-88 mission to the International Space Station. During the mission, astronauts captured a series of photographs, images of an object drifting against the black backdrop of space. It was black, jagged, irregular, not a satellite, not a balloon, not a weather device. To those who believed in the legend, this was it. This was the Black Knight. The images spread across the early internet like wildfire. But there was something else, something stranger. The object in those images didn't tumble like ordinary debris. It drifted slowly, deliberately, as if under control. Independent analysts studied the photos. Some claimed the shape changed slightly over time, as though it were adjusting itself. Some said it disappeared from view at moments when it should have remained visible. Others said the footage had been edited or altered before public release. NASA dismissed these claims, of course. Their explanation remained unchanged. It was a harmless piece of insulation, lost, floating, harmless. But if that were true, why did it look so much like a constructed object? Why did it seem symmetrical, Why did it seem like it had design? No antennas, no solar panels, but angles, geometry, edges that didn't belong to something torn or accidental. And then came the radio signals. Amateur HAM operators claimed that around the time of the STS-88 photos, they began picking up short bursts of narrowband frequencies. Unlike any normal satellite transmissions, short, compressed, and gone as quickly as they came. Some attempted to decode the signals. Others mapped the supposed transmission locations, and a few believed the object was not just visible, it was active. Was it responding? Was it realigning? Or was it simply being seen for the first time in centuries? And then silence. No follow-up missions, no retrieval attempt, no confirmation, just a thermal blanket and a mystery. If you've made it this far, then you already know. Some stories were never meant to be solved, and some objects never meant to be found. Subscribe to MindVeil and keep chasing the unexplained with us. Even today, if you search Black Knight Satellite, those images taken in 1998 are what you'll find. So what was it? According to NASA, a thermal blanket lost during a spacewalk. Its strange shape, the result of folding, twisting, and drifting. They even showed video footage of the exact moment it slipped away. Case closed? Not quite. Because believers pointed out the object was in the right orbit, the right position, the right shape, at least to fit the legend. So what's the truth? The reality is this. There is no single object officially known as the Black Knight satellite. There's no confirmed alien probe orbiting Earth, no government document verifying its existence. But there is a story, a collection of oddities, each explainable on its own, but together far more intriguing. Tesla's signal, Kehoe's claims, the Navy detection, Cooper's alleged sighting, NASA's strange object in 1998. Each event dismissed, each explanation plausible. But the pattern? That's harder to ignore. So what if it's real? What if the Black Knight is not a satellite, but something ancient? A sentinel? Placed in orbit long before our time, monitoring Earth, silently waiting. Some theorists believe the object is 13,000 years old. Based on decoded signals, allegedly received in the 1920s and 70s. They say those signals, when mapped, describe the location of Epsilon Boötis, a binary star system 52 light-years away. Why would an object in Earth's orbit point us toward a distant star? Is it the satellite's home, or the home of its creators? Or is it a warning? Other theories suggest the Black Knight is extraterrestrial technology, placed to observe human evolution. A passive watcher, not here to interfere, just to study. But then, why now? Why the signals in 1899? Why the photo in 1998? And if it's still up there, why hasn't it been seen again? Skeptics point out something important. Every sighting, every incident has a mundane explanation. Tesla likely heard natural radio waves. Kehoe's satellites, misreported data. The Navy's detection, space debris, the 1998 photo, a lost blanket. So maybe the Black Knight is not real. Maybe it's just a story. But here's the thing about stories. They don't need to be true to be powerful. The Black Knight satellite speaks to something deep in the human mind, a longing to know what's out there, a fear that we are not alone, and a suspicion that someone might be watching, not to harm us, not to invade, but to understand us, like an archaeologist watching an ancient ruin, like a scientist observing life in a petri dish, like something so far beyond us we wouldn't even know it was there. So what do you believe? Is the Black Knight just space junk, misinterpreted by eager minds? Or is it a message, a remnant, a warning, something ancient, something waiting, watching from the silence above? This is MindVeil, and some mysteries were never meant to be solved. Join us beyond the veil.